welcome to our next edition of Spotlight on Americas. As folks may know, this is a podcast series that we have launched with Tom Lunabos, global lead of Accenture Ventures. With Tom, we increase awareness of our Accenture Ventures portfolio companies. But more importantly, we also aim to provide an opportunity for viewers to interface with promising emerging tech CEOs and gain wisdom and proximity from these entrepreneurial interactions. So without much ado, Tom, could you please introduce us to today's guests?
I will, Shivani, and good morning to you and good morning to everybody out there around the world. I'm very excited to have our friends from QuantHealth here. Let's start off with the fact that over the past year, Shivani and I have been introducing you to a wide range of technologies and a wide range of applications. But generative AI is the topic du jour right now for all of us, I think, of how to use it and how to get humans in the loop and how it impacts and accelerates innovation around the world. And we talked a lot about texts and documents with our investments in Writer and how to build models, horizontal models and vertical models. But what makes QuantHealth really unique to me is it's the application of generative AI or data and AI in general to life sciences, to understanding or accelerating drug discovery, and more importantly, improving drug discovery as we go forward. And that's a huge cost benefit and such. So with that, let me introduce the two founders of QuantHealth, Arnon, Horev, and Inbar. And welcome, guys. You're calling in from your offices in Israel. So welcome to Spotlight on America.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
Well, let's get right into it. Let's help the audience understand exactly what you do. I mean, what problem? I already teed it up. It's around drug discovery and simulations and such. But once you help this audience, which is wide ranging, you got some people that understand life sciences. We are all humans, so we understand this issue at that level. What exactly is QuantHealth, and what do you do? What problem are you solving?
So let me take this, Tom. Thanks. QuantHealth helps optimize clinical development. And what that essentially means is we help drug companies do a better job at pushing their drugs through the phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 portions of the drug development pipeline. Today, over 90% of drugs that meet the clinical setting fail. They fail somewhere in that process and they just don't make it to market. To put things in perspective, the industry spends today $200 billion a year globally on drug development. It takes about 15 years to develop a drug and $3 billion per drug on average. We've seen a lot of success with AI in drug discovery. That is the ability to discover novel molecules and novel targets for which those molecules may actually work. But the real question now is, what do we do after drug discovery, after we discover those drugs? I like to think of it sort of like, it's like bringing a baby into the world, right? It's, having the baby be born is, a very important step in bringing a new human into the world. But then you have to raise that person into an adolescent and an adult, and it takes, on average, say 18 years, right, depending on how you're counting. It's kind of the same with drugs, right? And so once you discover the drug and figure out that it has some clinical potential, you now have to again bring it through these very rigorous clinical phases. And again, to put things in perspective, out of those $200 billion spent on developing a drug, more than half is actually applied in those clinical phases. And while most AI solutions today are geared towards drug discovery, hardly any AI is being applied today to actually improve the state of those clinical trials. Again, over 90% of drugs that reach the clinical setting fail to make it to market. So they fail somewhere along that path. That's a huge problem that the industry has been dealing with, since day one. And actually, that problem is only going to be exacerbated now by this influx of new drugs coming in from the discovery side because of AI improving and expediting that process. So, unless we're able to lower the barrier on the clinical side, that problem is only going to be further exacerbated. And so the need is absolutely enormous. And QuantHealth has taken it's really upon itself to lead the charge on that front.
Is the the billions of dollars that it takes to discover and the years, both of those are pretty daunting. Is the inhibitor to that, what takes so long? Is it primarily a data issue, the lack of data, the impact of data, the wrong type of data? What has been the challenge?
Essentially, yes. I mean, it's ultimately medicine is about evidence, right? And it's all about proving to the regulator and to other stakeholders that this drug is in fact safe and effective. And doing that requires collecting data, and collecting data requires experimentation, whether it's in vitro, in vivo, in human trials, and that takes time and resources.
I think we were struck, my team, the ventures team, and our life sciences team, led by Dr. Petra Janser, was the fact that your access to over 350 million patient records. Is that kind of the secret sauce of having access to a large amount of data that you then can create simulations from?
So it's part of it. There is a big uniqueness in having such a large data set that really allows us to understand how very, very specific characteristics of patients would affect their response to therapies. But a second part of that secret sauce that you're asking about is about how to integrate those patient data sets with drug data sets, which really allows us to mimic in a virtual manner and to simulate how any patient would respond to any treatment that we give them, basically. And in this manner, we can basically build full clinical trials in a virtual manner. So instead of doing clinical trials of 3, 5, 7 years, we do thousands of those in weeks. So that's like a very, very different approach to clinical development that allows us to prepare for the real trial that we still have to do.
Yeah, this concept of synthetic data or simulations, or it sounds like, when it comes to getting approvals, it's like so much today around data and AI. It has to be about trust, and the ability to simulate real world environments seems to be the key to what QuantHealth is bringing to the table.
Yeah, there's two pieces to this, right? There's one part is just helping the pharma companies do a better job at selecting which drugs go, advance into later phases, and to then better to actually design and execute those trials as they get there. And then the second piece is actually helping the regulator understand more about the drug and how it works. And today we're, I'd say, further along on the former, right, on kind of helping these companies do better internal decision making, where again they have the bar is pretty low, to be honest, to move that needle. And so, and the bar is a bit higher with the regulators. And so we expect over the coming years that our solution will in fact be more and more accepted by the regulators, actually to be part of these clinical trials. And we actually envision a world where in the hopefully not so distant future, some of the clinical trials may be run fully synthetically and purely by simulation.
The confidence is getting there, isn't it? I can feel it in your voice almost that is a potential. Does it lead to, beyond the cost of it and the speed of it, does it lead to better drug discovery?
Yeah, it does, because what you see today is a lot of times drugs today make it to market for indications which they're not fully adapted for. And it actually takes a lot of times years for the drug to be on the market and to actually understand how it works on various populations, to then go back and say, you know what, actually this drug works, it doesn't work the way we thought it would. And we might have to change how, maybe it was, in fact, worked better in cardiovascular disease than say oncology. And so, in that process, you've now lost out on benefiting all those patients who could have, if you had known this ahead of time, they could have, benefited from that much earlier.
Yeah. Or one question around that, since you use AI and there's so much now about ethics, responsible AI, avoiding hallucinations with the models. What is your take on that, and how do you address that within all that you're doing with AI with QuantHealth?
That's a great question, and it's the answer is there's no quick wins, and in order to bring a model to to life that can support a drug through the rigors of human trials and the regulators, it needs to go through extensive validation. And the good thing is, we're unlike say LLMs and kind of general generative AI. We have the luxury of having a very clear boundaries and test cases for our models, and so that gives us the chance to run our models through a huge battery of tests to make sure that they stand up to scrutiny. And so, we have a 5-step approach by going through data validation, logical validation, mathematical validation, retrospective validation, and then finally future-looking prospective validation, all of which, validates our model through the different stages of development to make sure that it is adequately, performant to support a clinical trial. It takes us about a month to actually do that for a single model, which may sound like a lot, but it's actually pretty quick in
fantastic. Those things are needed, right? Those guardrails are needed, and I love to hear the fact that it's not just all about AI. It's about what at Accenture and Paul Dorothy has always said, it's about human plus machine. It's about AI plus humans, and making sure kind of the two are brought together, which is amazing what you seem to have unlocked there.
Guys, we just started this investment here with you guys between Accenture and QuantHealth, and I think it's an exciting partnership. How does it look for you? What does the Accenture partnership do for you guys?
Yeah, so there are several components that we are extremely grateful for in this partnership. These can vary or mostly dedicated of thinking about what the customer really need together and bringing an offering that would include both our capabilities together with Accenture capabilities on the technology side and on the service side, that would really provide a synergistic offering, giving the customers a much higher value and a much more holistic view of their development plans and how they should be optimized. And that's the main thing. But in addition, there are many aspects of experience that we can get from Accenture's work with the sponsors and pharma companies and biotechs in the world, which really helps us to optimize our offering and to build them in the right way, including the right integrations into their systems and technologies. So we are extremely helpful for those and for additional other aspects of synergies and collaboration.
Well, I can speak for our team, for Dr. Petra Janser and Kailash Shah and team, that we're very excited about this partnership as well, and we're excited to see where we go together, but not just as two companies, but really in society, what we can do to improve society, precision medicine, and going forward. So Arnon, thank you so much for joining Shivani and I on Spotlight on America. This is a brief introduction to your firm, but it's one that's going to continue for many, many years going forward. So Shivani, thank you for once again hosting this podcast for our teams around the world. And we will see you all in the spotlight.
Thanks, guys.
Excellent. Great to
Yeah.
meet you.